As we rock on and get set to head for home, let me tell you the truth about the story now, folks. I'm now officially a part of the Substack family. That's right. You can check me out on Substack at Professor G. That's PROFG, right? And check me out. If you're feeling so inclined and you want to subscribe, we'll work that out. But, I just kind of feel like um, in this trying time that we living in right now, you got to find a way to reach out and do the work of the Lord. I mean, I ain't no saved, sanctified, holy fellow. I'm some dude that's probably going to end up going on the down escalator at, you know, calling time. But, it is what it is. But sometimes in our realm of sports, we get to throwing around the term heroes as somebody who does something outlandish, does an unbelievable thing in the era of sports. And you think to yourself, well, how do you really frame this in the heroic terms? Well, I got to tell you something right now, boys and girls. When you're an athlete and you're on an Olympic stage and you got a platform in front of you that gives you an opportunity to speak your mind freely, I'm of the opinion that you speak your mind, well, freely, right? And so I got to give credit where credit is due. All right. I now have a new American hero on the U.S. Olympic team as a whole. And his name is Hunter Hess. And in case you haven't heard the story about Hunter Hess, well, I'll put it to you like this. He's an American hero because he was faced with a very difficult question to open the Olympic Games. And he has taken backlash for it, saying that he had, quote, mixed emotions about representing the United States under the second Trump administration right before the Olympic Winter Games in Milan, Italy had started. Now, remember, these are the same Italian sports fans and Olympic lovers that, when given the opportunity to boo the vice president, they let them know that America's new values aren't welcome there. I often find myself, having one who had to ask those questions in a room like that. How do you ask somebody who's like only 27 years old? And I put that out there as only 27 years old because, I mean, there's a reason you can't run for president until you're 35. You're still maturing in terms of, I guess, your political makeup, but you know what's right and you know what's wrong. And it is amazing to me to see how many old school, patriotic elders, and I guess I will qualify myself in that, but just in the moment where you can't put on, you just don't feel comfortable wearing your USA gear, here comes Hunter Hess, who said that he had mixed emotions about representing the United States under the Trump administration's domestic policies. Somewhere along the lines of no knock warrants, something along the lines of killing, America's health professionals, and then not letting anybody else help them, that kind of. Now again, let me be clear about something. Uh, I got enough USA gear that I can floss, but I haven't been flossing it because I feel the same way that Hunter Hess does. This is the country. You care about the country that you live in, but some stuff is screwed up now and it needs to be dealt with. Now, needless to say, the immature number 47 responded well on Truth Social yesterday, the day of the Super Bowl, calling Hess a, quote, real loser and suggest he shouldn't have tried out for the team. What an idiot. Now, how can somebody that's a known draft dodger and pedophile call someone a real loser? I mean, really, you see what's going on here. Okay, we have a commander in chief that is certainly so maniacally egotistical that he has to stick his mouth in places where he doesn't need to go. He has no temperature in the room. Okay, he doesn't understand what is going on in the world around him. So he comes off with these blatant, nonsensical rantings that just really make you look at him and like, when is Congress going to just take him out of office? Because this dude is certifiable. There are no protocols in place, everything's unhinged. And then that brings me to the worst press secretary in the history of the White House. Yep, Carolyn Levitt. Just right there backing it up. Sometimes you got to know when to shut up, and sometimes you got to be truthful to the people, which I do believe she never is. All right, she is definitely not doing the work of the Lord with her job. But I just find it ironic how former Olympians, school Olympians, who weren't really that good, who kind of gravy trained their way onto a miracle on ice in Lake Placid. And for those of y'all who don't remember, I believe it was 1984. They had because the Olympics, I believe at that time, were both in the same day. But wherever the case it was in Lake Placid. It's the Miracle on Ice. You've seen movies and all that kind of stuff. USA Hockey wasn't supposed to beat Russians. They beat Russians. And there was this dude, Mike Eruzione, who was captain of the team. And, you could look at him back in the day and say, wow, this was a warm, fuzzy moment. You got to invite the team to come stand up on there after you beat the big, bad Russians. Now you got a president that would give your country to the damn Russians, and you're going to call a kid who was asked a question a loser? Come on, Ruzioni, please. Please. It is amazing to me how athletes can find an allegiance to a guy that would sue them, would feed them to sharks. If he could, if he thought he could make $100,000 by feeding a U.S. Olympian to a shark, he would. Now, Ruzioni, again, is old school. He older than me. But you don't come out like that. Look, these sanctimonious red, white, and blue maniacs who say that they love the country don't want the country to give you the rights that the Constitution says you have. So when an athlete, and I admire him for him because athletes have been standing up, and he didn't really even, go but so deep. He answered a question. Where would we have been if athletes hadn't taken a stand in the 60s, right? I mean, think about that for a second. How many athletes lost it all because they stood for something greater than themselves? Loser? No, 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 no. Trump. I can't go down there and call you Mr. President anymore. I ain't gonna bow down on my knees and kiss your feet. No, I got an opinion about things. You ruined my country. That's what you're doing. And in such a narcissistic way that you got to have your name slapped on buildings. Penn Station in New York. Are you kidding me? Really? Why? What's it going to do? I mean, it's amazing. Put his name on the Kennedy Center. That wasn't enough. Now he's got to sit up in the middle of the night. It's one thing to, come up with ignorant caricatures of the Obamas to then, and then take it out on a guy like Hunter Hess, who, mind you, is a white kid from Bend, Oregon. That's right. From Bend, Oregon. So let's get this straight. All right. We're gonna say a guy. Now here's a guy who made the decision to rep for America. Okay, I'm sure you could tell in his facial expression. A, he didn't want to have to answer that question. B, he didn't want to be in a position to have to defend the country where he sees tyranny going on right before his very eyes. And this dude wants you to step up and lie. Maybe some people just aren't as good at lying as he is, right? I mean, if there is a thing called, get this, a conscience. Wow. Imagine that. A president with a conscience, like, say, Joe Biden, like, say, Barack Obama, like, say, Jimmy Carter. Hell, as incompetent as George W. Bush was in terms of handling the Katrina crisis, you did get the feeling that his mistakes were made simply because he was ignorant to handle disasters. That's where we're at right now. So we got somebody in the spot right here, right now, who is demeaning people that are representing the country. Now you're trying to take over other countries while demeaning other people, right? Of your country. How does that make you look? Really? How does it's one thing for us, and I'm talking about United States citizens, to vote him in a second time after we saw what got down the first time. But then you're like seeing it replay itself all over again. And why? Why do that? Look, this is the kind of stuff that's happening. This is like, all right, you know how you do black on black crime? They talk about that. This American on American crime being initiated by the commander in thief. Really? Even downtrodden, flag waving Americans in barren wastelands have got to feel some type of way about this. Come on, man. The president insulted an Olympian representing the country on the world's greatest stage, and he wasn't black. Again, it's not acceptable if he's black. Don't get it twisted. But you could see him taking a shot at a black athlete. Of course, in these Olympics, there aren't too many. Still, okay, the moral to this story is we got an American kid. I'm not going to say he's a patriot. He's minding his own business. He's doing what any good American would do on a podium. He told the truth. Okay. And I didn't realize that this president was like Jack Nicholson. You can't handle the truth. But that's where it is right now. Kid simply expresses concern for the future of a place he thought he was going to live in harmony for the rest of his life. Really? We can't give the next generation, unless they're your family, keys to a bright future, confidence, you know, uh, representing for those who couldn't speak. We can't give him any of that. Nah, he's going to call him a loser. And this guy's used to being a bully. So I guess he figured he can bully his way on through. I will say this. He tried to bully Bad Bunny, and Bad Bunny blew his Turning Point concert, halftime show, whatever you want to call it, on its ear. and it was a phenomenal show. I will say this. I didn't think anybody could top Kendrick. Bad Bunny did. But the moral to this story is Hunter Hess is in Italy to compete for a gold medal. It's his life's work. He answered a question and as diplomatically as he could. But if you want people to speak highly of you, think about treating them like human beings. Try that. 47. Anyway, that's going to do it for me. OG Sports Rap. I'm Mark Gray. Holla at your boy. Download the mobile app, sportsrapradio.net. Remember, we all we got.